Justin Lund, who works with trades and services based business owners, helping them build businesses that actually scale instead of ones that trap them. That sounds so good. All right. After building, breaking, rebuilding, and eventually exiting multiple companies, Justin realized something important. Most business owners don't struggle because they lack drive. They struggle because they're stuck inside the businesses that they have created. And so I'm just going to stop right there because I'm going to let Justin do some talking. I don't want to say any more right now at this point. But Justin, welcome to the show.
Yeah. So no, I've never been really in corporate. I was in a sales job that putting myself through college in a sales career. And I like that because I've always been into the Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar kind of stuff I got to use that as my sales pitch. So it was pretty much like I'd listen to these tapes and read these books and then just kind of regurgitate what I was saying on a sales call. So that was a fun job for me through school, but it was a toxic environment. I got into some drug use there, and it was the typical kind of Wolf of Wall Street sort of atmosphere, right? Where a lot of high paid people making really big commission checks and blowing it all on drugs and cars and things like that. Well, I had just gotten married, so I wasn't blowing quite as much of that, but I did fall into that some of the drug use, and I got hooked on pain pills. Um, and that, trying to start a family, being addicted to this substance, which I thought was like the most benign of everything going on in the sales floor area with all the wild, crazy partying that some of those guys were doing. But the addiction part of that is just it's so gripping and just a real bad thing that I would not recommend to anybody. Um, so that was my big sticking point there in my early 20s, mid 20s as I was just getting married. I had two kids at the time, got arrested and went into drug rehab as a result to try to hopefully not go to long-term jail for this possession of drugs. Um, and it was there that I finally started realizing like all these little side gigs, all the side hustles and things that I was doing were just trying to mask the fact that I wasn't really putting something, I wasn't being focused. And a lot of it was where I learned about these limiting beliefs and some of these saboteurs that come up. Like if I stayed busy and distracted with this and always had a reason why
Right.
that gig didn't work,
You
so
didn't have to deal with the other.
then I didn't
Yeah.
have to deal with the fact that I was a drug addict and I was being a terrible
Right.
father and a really bad husband and all these other things that were probably more important. So getting some clarity there and coming out of that situation, I learned how to begin to eliminate some of like, I'm doing this because I kind of got some blinders on where the distractions just became, I learned there the skills, how to say no to them because you need to, because I'm on drugs. I got to figure out how to say no to things and how to change my environment and all of that. Once out of there, like things took off. I realized what was making me tick before, and I started to get some clarity and some, all that motivation and everything that just seemed like chaos in my past really started to align. And as it lined up,
Yeah.
I started to build a business on my own. And it was it started out slow. I lived in my mother's house. I slept on her floor as a married man with my wife and two children.
Yeah.
And within a year and a half, I had generated a seven-figure business. And
Wow.
another year later, I was at $6 or $7 million, and then just continued to climb. And again,
Yeah.
it was not because of any. Well, I did get clear, and I learned how to take some of these distractions and bring them into my core path, and that was the key. That was one of the key things that started that lit that fuse. And then from there, it was learning from people ahead of me. I told you the mentor that I called. I wouldn't have figured that out. I mean, I was about to do the same things that everybody else does. I was thinking, I need somebody to help with marketing, and I need somebody to build websites, and I need somebody. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, sure. But
Pause.
first,
Yeah.
let's do this first. Let's just see. You have some special gifts." And that's what he taught me, what my time was actually worth, and what some of those skills that I was bringing that I didn't recognize them as really important skills, but he pointed out things like, look how good you are with people. Like your clients,
Mm.
you are taking care. I don't think you should ever hire someone for the foreseeable future to deal with your clients besides you. What
Yeah.
you should do is hire everybody else so that the only thing you can do is deal with clients.
Yeah.
And that piece of advice I built into a framework and a structure that I now coach and teach people. But what it allowed me to do is it changed my life. I told you, I was falling asleep on the computer keyboard. I was at work all of the time. I went to just flying first class all over the world and getting new clients and taking them out for really expensive meals and then landing a new contract that was worth another $5 million a year. And then doing that again the next month and then doing that again the next month. So
Yeah.
my growth was unbelievable. It really boils down to this. I figured out with his help what lane I did the best work in.
Right. Right.
Freaking stayed in that lane.
Yeah. It's the best advice out of the whole thing. Just stay in your lane, right?
There
Figure out
is.
your lane and stay in it.
It is.
Oh my
It
gosh.
is.
No, this is so good. This story is so good. And you know what? It's like when you're talking about like the people, I mean, you figured that out because that's where your talents are. And when you're in your
Yeah.
talents, you're not going to go wrong with stuff.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you. And I think if anything to take away from this is it's the importance, I think, of really honing in on those strengths where you are great and then mastering those belief systems that you've referenced several times, those limiting beliefs, because those are the things that look at that and go, nah, you shouldn't be doing that. You need to be doing this, because that reptilian brain likes to justify everything and, say, no,
Yeah,
we
sure.
don't have the money to do that. So we're going to do this instead or whatever,
Yeah.
or you need that, and
So
so I think this
I've
is
got to show you
all
on my
good.
desk is
Like it.
I keep this here as a constant reminder because
Yeah.
while I do believe that staying in your lane is critical, and if you
Right.
learn how to do that and you learn the skills to get the other stuff largely off of your plate, you will succeed. A lot of people think it's going to take a long time. I mean, Jennifer, I was grinding it out for almost 2 years to get to six figures. And it was a $250,000. It was
Okay.
I thought very healthy six figures. I was ecstatic to be in that. I mean,
Yeah.
just think of that. 2 years before that, I was in jail
Right.
and then
Right,
rehab.
right.
And I'm now
And
making
then
250, and I'm like, this is awesome, man. Within
That's
a
great.
year, in just a few months, I'd crossed the 7-figure mark. And then after that, it was
Wow.
9 months. The next 9 months of that year, we crossed $1 million in, I think it was at the end of March, right about this time of year, end of March,
Okay.
beginning of April. And I
Yeah.
remember they came in to me, my mentor with an accountant came in and said, I just want to show you your financials. You're officially a millionaire.
Legit, like,
Yeah. And I said, here's your P&L. Take a look at everything. And then they kind of just
Yeah.
pointed out a few things and like 1 million something $1,000. I'm like, whoa, that's unbelievable. And then he said something that
Wow.
I've never forgotten. He said, now watch out. Your first one is always the hardest to make. The next
Yeah.
one, they're going to just fly by. Second $1 million in about 60 more days. And by the end of
Oh
that
my
year,
goodness.
I believe it was, I can't remember exactly, it was $4 or $5 million of net operating income for the year. So from passing my first one, which took years and years to build up to that point, then it just shot up. And a lot of people have this limiting belief that it is going to take a long time. And I don't want to confuse it. I'm not saying that it's just easy,
Right.
but some of those blockers, and the reason that he told me that, he followed up with, you are in the way. And once
Yeah.
you get out of your way,
Right.
you'll realize just how easy you can do it again and again and again and again. And that
Yeah.
really hit home and landed for me. And that's what it came down to, is me staying in my lane. Now, the reason I brought up the yin and the yang is because I learned a lesson shortly after that there's also this other part that there's a balance. Like life is full of dichotomy, like these
Right.
two black and white contrast choices.
Mm-hmm.
And on the one, I needed to learn how to stay in my lane and not try to control everything.
Right.
But then on the other, I needed to learn skills in departments that I had no skills in.
Right.
One of those being accounting. They had to show me on the P&L,
Yeah.
like, this is why it's here and this. And so now I have simple systems that I deploy in those other parts of life that
Yeah.
help me to slowly raise the needle so that I'm not just thinking like, okay, I'm doing
Right.
really
You're in
good.
the
I'm staying
dark
in my
about the
lane,
other.
and I
Yeah.
hope the money's going to be okay. I hope taxes get filed.